So let's check out Alpine Linux. What's up guys, it's Josh back with another video and welcome to the KeepItTechie channel. And today I wanted to explore Alpine Linux 3.9. And this new release promises exciting features and updates that are sure to interest both Linux enthusiasts and casual users alike. And I'm super excited to see how it stacks up, especially for someone like me who's an avid Arch Linux enthusiast, because Alpine is a little bit similar. So let's get to it. So I'm at alpinelinux.org. And of course, I had a link down in the description of the video, so you can go right to the website. But 3.19 was released on December 7th, 2023, which was a couple weeks ago. And that's based on the article that was released on that day. And it comes with several notable updates. And basically at its core, it's powered by the new Linux 6.6 Linux kernel series, which includes all the performance upgrades and security enhancements. Now, a significant addition is the support for Raspberry Pi 5, which is super cool. I'm gonna have to buy me a Raspberry Pi 5 so I can play around with it and see how it works and put Alpine on it. But this makes it a versatile choice for various applications. And also users will appreciate the inclusion of GNOME 45 as well as KDE Plasma's latest version. So that caters to the diverse preferences in desktop environments. Now, under the hood, the distribution also includes updated components like GCC, which is 13.2, as well as PHP 8.3 and more. And this is to ensure a cutting edge experience, which I 100% like. Now, this release is also available in multiple editions, which I'll get to that next, just showing you guys how to download it right fast. So if we go over to the download page, you'll see a whole bunch of downloads. So we got our standard edition, and the standard is the Alpine as it was intended, just enough to get you started. And that's similar to that Arch install. That's why I compared it to Arch a little bit earlier, because it's basically a terminal window. You will see it when we go through the install. It's basically a terminal window. They have a script built into it that allows you to install everything, and I'll walk you guys through this. It's not as difficult as you think. You just answer a bunch of questions and then it'll install the operating system for you, and it's super small. When you download this, you'll see it's like 300 megabytes in size. Now, they do have an extended version, and it says most common used packages are included. So it says suitable for routers and servers, runs for RAM, includes AMD and Intel microcode updates. And then also the NetBoot, which is the kernel, init RAM FS, and mod loop for NetBoot. So if you need that NetBoot version. And then here's the Raspberry Pi. And like I said, it includes the Raspberry Pi 5. So super cool. So all of them are included, you know, including the latest Raspberry Pi, which is 5, and then generic ARM and a mini root file system if you want to roll with that. And this is mainly for containers, but you got those options, you know, and I didn't point these out, but they do have a virtual version. It's a slimmed down kernel optimized for virtual machines. I'm gonna use the standard. I'm gonna run it in a virtual machine. It'll run fine. You know, I don't need this scaled down version or slimmed down version, but they also have a Zen version as well for Zen. And so, like I said, let's go down and download the one I recommend you get if you have a 64-bit architecture. Just get that x86 64 right here at the bottom. You also have your SHA-256 and GPG, just to verify that you're getting it from the right location. And so let's hop over to my virtual machine so I can walk you guys through this super simple install. It's a little intimidating, but it's super simple. Let's get to it. Before we move forward, I wanted to give a quick shout out to CIQ, the official partner of Rocky Linux. Rocky Linux is a Linux distribution that is intended to be a downstream complete binary compatible release using the Red Hat Enterprise Linux operating system source code. The project is led by Gregory Kurtzer, who was the founder of the CentOS project. So check out Rocky Linux at ciq.co. Alright, so once you get the ISO downloaded and burnt to a USB and you boot up on your system, you'll be greeted with the live ISO. It basically boots up the small Linux operating system, live operating system, so you can get the install done. And so it has a login screen. All you have to do is type root and press enter. There is no password for the live ISO, just letting you guys know. And it's one command that you need to type in order to get the installation started. So all we have to do is type setup-alpine. And like I said, it's similar to Orch in this regard. You know how Orch has the install script that's included with the live ISO. It's the same with Alpine. They have a script basically built in. All you have to do is answer a bunch of questions. And so let's run through it right fast so you guys can see how to do it, because it's not that difficult at all. You just need to understand what to type and when to type it. So just go down, press enter, boom. And the first thing is your key map, so keyboard kind of layout. I'm gonna type US because that applies to me, and you can look through here and find your key map among this list, and the default is none, but I'm gonna type US. So let's press enter. Next thing is the layout, the other layout of it. So I'm gonna just type US again because there's different options for US. So US symbolic, a US HB, and let me not go too deep, let's just quickly get through it. But I'm gonna type US again. You just basically type whatever you need to type based on that. And then the next thing is setting up your host name. I'm gonna just name this Alpine, and so you can name it whatever you want as far as the host name. The next thing is it's gonna recognize your interfaces that are on the systems, and this is for the internet. I'm using a virtual machine. It only has one interface, but it'll list out all the different interfaces if you're installing this directly on hardware, and it'll pull them up. So you just need to know which one it is. But ETHO is the default. That's mine for my virtual machine. So let's go down and press enter. And then right here, it's going to ask you if you want to do DHCP, which is the default. That's the easiest way. If you want to set static later, I recommend you do it later. Just use DHCP in the beginning, and then we can get this thing installed that way. Now, do you want to do a manual network configuration? The default is no. I'm going to just press enter. You don't have to press anything if you're going to use the defaults, which is in these parentheses. So just so you guys know, that's why I'm just pressing enter, because it'll use the default, which is no. Now it's going to allow you to set that root password, and this is for the new system that will be installed. So just type in something, whatever password you type here will be the password on the system once it's installed. Now you want to set your time zone. And if you look through here, you can find what you need here. It says US, so I'm gonna use US/Pacific. And so if you're on a different, time zone in the US, yeah, and it looks like I typed that in wrong, so you want to make sure you type it in right. Let's back at it up. So PACIFIC, so Pacific, and press enter, and we'll be good right there. And then right here, it'll ask you if you want to use a proxy. I'm gonna just press enter because I want to use the defaults. No, I don't have a proxy server that I want to use. Now, what it's going to do is look at the APK mirrors, and it's going to use the closest mirrors first. If you select that option, the first option, which is the one I want to show you guys, which is F. So you got F, that'll find and use the fastest mirrors. So most likely those mirrors are going to be closest to you. And this is for like your package, your repository, your packages, all that stuff. You could show the mirror list if you want to. You could do R to use a random, E to edit your etc app repository with a text editor if you want to. And then you can also type C for community repo enabled. And what I'm gonna do is just type F, which is fine, and press enter. That'll find and use the fastest mirrors, and this will take a little time. It'll go through and check to see, and then it'll order them based on the fastest mirrors. And so I'll be back when this finishes. All right, so we're done. It has updated our repository list, and ordered them by the fastest. Now the next thing, this is new to the installer, at least from the last version, one of those earlier versions that I installed, Alpine Linux. It didn't allow you to set up a user account during the installation process. So this is new. So all you have to do is type in the user account that you want to set up. So I'm going to set up Josh. Boom. It's going to ask you for the full name of the user. We're just going to use Josh. That's fine. Type in our password for it. So remember what this password is, because this is going to be your password once the system is installed. And essentially what it's doing is storing all of this information into a script, and then it'll go through and do all of this once we start the install. And so the next thing, you can also import SSH keys if you want to. I'm gonna just press enter for none because I don't have any SSH keys I want to put on here. Now it's going to ask you about a SSH server. Do you want to set this system up as a SSH server? I recommend you do, in case you need to connect to it. Let's say you're setting this up on a server and you're not planning on putting a desktop environment on here, then you most likely want an SSH server. So I'm gonna just use the defaults and put Open SSH on there, but they do have drop bear as well. but we're gonna press enter and that'll get us going with that. Now, the disk and the install, this is pretty much the last step. It's gonna ask you how you wanna set up your disk. So which disk do you wanna use? It checks your system, find all the available disks. So if I have multiple disks here, it'll show them all here, but it sees that we only have one. All we have to do is type VDA. So whatever the name of that disk is right here, you just type that in here and it'll select that as the disk we want to use to install on. So let's go and press enter, and then it's going to ask you, what do you like to use this disk for? And this is only beneficial if you have multiple disks. Well, it's also beneficial if you only have single disks as well, because there are some options there for you. But if you look at it, the first option is sys, second option is data. So if you want to use it as a data drive, then you have crypt. So if you want to set up an encrypted drive, and then it'll go through and ask you if you want it to be a sys or data. And then the same thing with LVM. If you want to set up the drive as an LVM, so logical volumes, then you can set up your sys and data at that point as well. So that's the options that you have. Like if you had like two disks on here, let's say you wanted to put data on one and your system on the other drive, then you select the one for sys and you're good to go. So let's go through, and then you could just, once the system is installed, you can edit that drive if you need to, like that data drive if you have like a second drive on there. So let's go down and type sys for our drive and press enter, and that's where we're going to install the system. But this is where it's going to ask you if you want to erase the disk. You have to type Y because the default is in for no. They just want to warn you that you're finna overwrite this disk. So if you have data on here, you want to make sure it's not anything important. So let's go down and press enter after we type Y, and this will start the install. It'll set everything up for you for the system, and once this finishes, we'll be good to go. And as you can see, it was super short. Before I can finish my sentence, the installation is complete. So the full system is written over to that hard drive. That's one of the powers of Alpine. It's just a base system, and you'll see that once we reboot. So all we have to do is reboot the system now that the installation is complete. So let's just type reboot, press enter, and then it'll reboot the system. All right, so we are logged into our new installation at Alpine Linux. As you can see, it's nothing there. No desktop environment, no anything. It's basically the same as if you install Orch, the base level Orch. It's not gonna have anything there. It's not gonna have a desktop environment. It's not gonna have, a greeter or window manager or anything on the system. So this is the point where you can go in and install everything. And you can use your personal account that you set up, or you can use the root account, which is a little bit simpler because you don't have to write do as or sudo if you use sudo. And that's the thing, you have those options. That's what makes it super cool. You have the options, and that's why I like Orch. That's why I've always liked Orch and have been using it for a while, because you have the options to build out the system the way you want to, because all it is a base level system and you can build on top of it. Now let's start off and just log into it. Let's type root, and it's going to ask us for that password that we set during the installation. Boom, and we're logged in. It says welcome to Alpine, and like I said, this is a super lightweight system. Like you can run, I don't know, top. Let's run top right fast just so we can kind of see, because HTOP I'm sure is not installed by default, but you can kind of, well, actually let's quit that and type free-h to put it in human readable format. And as you can see, look at the memory. It's only using like 87 megabytes to run the system, obviously because it's, it's only a TTY or a terminal that we're using, but that's all it's using out of the amount of RAM that I gave the system. And you perfectly fine running a system like this. If you want to run it as like a server or something, you can install whatever services you need without putting a desktop environment on here, and you're good to go. But most people want to get this thing installed with a desktop environment. So let me go down and go through and show you guys how to do that right fast. So we already have a user account created. Let's go down and add it to the will group, so it'll have sudo privileges or do as privileges for the system. You can run commands using that account. So I want to show you guys that first right fast. So all you have to do is type add user, and then we could type in our user account, which is Josh, and then we want to add it to the will group, and let's press enter. That'll add our user to the will group. And now let's just verify that do as is on here. I'm sure, well, we could check right fast. So which do as, let's see if it's here. Boom, and it is here, so we don't have to mess with it. But there is an option you want to set with do as right fast. It's basically to make it persistent. And we can type nano. Let's see if nano should be on here. Well, it's probably not. So let's go down and type APK, because Alpine Linux uses the APK package manager. Just so you guys know, we can type update first. I always run the updates first. It'll refresh our mirrors, but we can type AP and then add, and let's add nano right fast to the system. It'll install that. Doesn't take long at all. So now we can type nano etc, and then it's the do as config. So do as.conf and press enter, and basically all we have to do is uncomment this line out. Basically permit persistent for the wheel group. So let's go on in Control X, and then let's save our changes to that configuration file, and we're good to go. And now our user is a part of that wheel group, and it's persistent. It'll stay that way. Now there's one other thing you want to kind of do with the Alpine, and that's open up the system to the community repository. So let me show you guys how to do that right fast. So all we have to do is type nano and then etc, and then I believe it's apk, and then it's repositories. Yeah, and what I was doing was hitting the tab button, just so you guys know, just to bring up the files that are there. So you just want to go down to the community edition. You'll see it says community at the end. So this is the main repository, this is the community repository, and this will open up the system to a lot more software that's within that community repository, similar to the Arch user repository. You have to enable that repository in order to install software from that user repository or community repository. Same concept. And then also let's go back up to the top and let's type apk, and then let's type update again. This will refresh, and you'll see that community repository is there now as well, and you'll see it refresh against that repository as well. Let's say you want to get a desktop environment. Let me just walk you guys quickly through how to get a desktop environment installed. There's a script built in that you could type in. It's called setup-xorg, and this is what will install Xorg and then the base. And let's go down and press enter. It'll go through, fetch all the packages that it needs for Xorg, and get that installed. And this is for us to set up a desktop environment. Now let's go down and install a couple packages. You guys know I like XFCE, so I'm gonna roll with XFCE, and all you have to do is type apk add, and then it's a couple packages you want to install. So XFCE 4 for one, that's the base of XFCE, and then you want to put in light DM because you need a greeter. It looks better with a greeter. I mean, you can log in from the terminal and it'll go right into the desktop, but a greeter looks a whole lot better, and most people like greeters, so it's best to put one there. And then also a couple other things you might need. Well, yeah, you definitely need XFCE 4-terminal. Let's definitely put that there. And also let's see, XFCE 4-screen saver. I know that's another one. Let's see, dbus will work as well. And then let's put, I don't know, some kind of theme on there. So ADW, I know this one by heart, GTK3. Let's put that on there, and Adwada as well. Most people like to see Adwada. I've seen that in a lot of like distros as a default theme for the system. It'll put Adwada on there. So icon-theme, let's put that on there as well. And let's go down and press enter. Boom, get all that installed. As long as you typed everything in properly, it should install it. So let's give it a couple seconds to go through the install. All right, cool. So we've got that installed. We've got basically our desktop environment installed on the system. Now we kind of need to activate it. So now Alpine doesn't use systemd. You have to use specific commands that'll add it to the init system. So it's rc updates. And then what we want to do is add lightdm, something that needs to be initialized when the system is booting up. So it's rc, and I forgot the dash up here, so let's put a dash. So it's rc dash updates add lightdm. So let's go down and press enter there. And then one other thing, we add another service in there, and that's dbus. So dbus, let's add that in there as well. Press enter. That'll add that in, so it'll start that service on boot. Now you can actually, and let me actually show you this. So you can actually start the desktop environment from here, but I'm not going to start it from here. You could basically use the RC and then it's service after that. So we type service and we type light DM, and I'm only showing you guys this. Don't run this on your system unless you want to. It doesn't matter really. It'll start the desktop environment. It'll basically start that service for us. So RC dash service light DM start. That'll start the desktop environment for you, and it'll pop up and allow you to log in, all that good stuff. It'll basically, because we're already logged in, so but it'll pop into the root account, you know, logged in into the system. Let's go down and back that off, and we should be good to go. Well, actually, let me install a couple other things right fast. So apk add e log nd, and then also the poll kit. So poll kit dash elgind, so login, and let's go down and get that installed as well. That only takes a second, but let's go down and reboot the system. So all we have to do is type reboots. That'll reboot the system, kill everything, and then we should be greeted with our light DM greeter. Should pop up with that and allow us to log into it. We'll see if we did everything right. Let's make sure. Yes, there we go. So we did everything right. That's our light DM greeter. We can modify this, obviously. If you guys don't know how to do that, just look into how to edit light DM to make it look good. But yeah, you have options to do that, and cool, there we go. So we have our XFCE desktop environment. We good to go, and now we can do pretty much any and everything we want to do with Alpine. Like you can run a uname, and basically what I recommend you do is go through and install whatever you want to use on the system, because that may take a little time, you know, to get set up, but it's running Alpine Linux, the Linux kernel 6.6. We're good to go. And then you could just type the APK, and I keep saying app, but the APK package manager, add, let's say you want to add like htop or something to the system. And yeah, we're logged into our sudo account, so we have to type do as. So do as APK, add htop. It'll ask us for our do as password, and we can get that installed. Let's type htop and see it run right fast, and boom. As you can see, it's only using about 1 megabytes, you know, and we all know XFCE, yeah, you can make it, you know, where it uses a lot of memory, you know, in the system, but by default, where it's not running anything but the base system, you know, is very light on your resources. But I don't want to go any further, because I can go a lot further with this video with Alpine Linux, but that'll make the video super long. I'll probably do a part 2 just showing you guys how to set up a different desktop environment, or just installing specific applications on here that you guys may want to see in the future. So that wraps up my review of Alpine Linux 3.19. This release is a significant step forward, offering robust support for the latest hardware and software advancements. So whether you're setting up a server or desktop, or even one of those Raspberry Pi projects, Alpine Linux 3.19 is worth checking out. So don't forget to download it from their official website. And thanks for watching. Go down and leave some comments down in the comments below. Tell me what distro you want to look at next. Just give me some ideas, and also just give me your thoughts on if you want to try Alpine out after watching this video. But stay tuned for more tech updates, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And of course, keep it techie.